guys. So, going to be a little delay in the bow build. My intention was to do some more work, go on to step 2. Unfortunately, it is currently 40 degrees in Las Vegas and raining. So, I know that's not, it's not the cold or the rain, it's the fact that working with wood in the cold and the rain isn't the best thing. I work out of my garage, and where I'm situated is right at the opening of the garage, so the rain pretty much saturates me if it's raining. Not good conditions to work with raw wood. Anyway, but just so I don't leave you guys completely hanging and I'll give you something else to do, let's take a look at where you should be at this point. Here's my future bow, the piece of wood that we did. This is what it should look like. Okay, it's I tapered it 3/4 of an inch down to 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch down to 1/2 inch. Now I've been trying to floor tiller this. It's bending, but it's very stiff. It's very heavy. I think what I'm going to do is take it down another, pretty much 1/8 of an inch, or around that, so that it'll be 3/8 thick at the top here. Still 3/4 here, but tapering down to 3/8, and we'll see how that feels. That's a pretty big drop, so I won't go more than 3/8. I may just sand it, and when it feels right, I'll stop. It's one of those things where, you know, I floor tiller. It's got a good spring, got a nice bend, but I can tell this bow is still in the, you know, if I were to try to pull it back right now, it'd be over 100 pounds. And I don't know if any of you guys have noticed that as well, but I'm going to reduce it some more because it's so heavy. So that's what I'm going to be doing this coming week with the actual bow stick. We'll call it a bow stick or a stave or whatever you want to call it. So that's one thing I'm going to do. The other thing I will do is, once I have this thing floor tillered, or once I feel like it's bending, I don't know if anyone's unaware of what floor tillering is. I'm going to move the camera a second so you guys can see this. But I had some questions on what is floor tillering. Well, floor tillering basically means that you get the stick, you put your hand on where the handle would be, put your other hand on the end of the bow, and you just put some weight on it. You see how it's bending? The fact that it bends at all means that it's floor tillered. It doesn't actually mean the bow's curving or bending in any kind of symmetry. It just means that when you stick it on the floor and put some weight on it, the sucker bends. That's floor tiller. That's it. That's all it means. You know, people get all crazy about that term, and you really don't need to. But I'm going to be reducing this another maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/16. Just depends on how it feels to me. If you guys feel it's too heavy or too light for you, then do what you feel is appropriate for you. I also want to show you where I am with the riser block. Now, you remember from the video that hopefully you all made a great big mess with me, and I hope you enjoyed the process of doing that. But I sanded it out, I let it sit for 24 hours and took it out of the clamps. And then I let it sit for another 24 hours and I started sanding on it with the sanding block. Let me show you how nice this thing will turn out, why you don't have to worry about making a mess. I'm going to show you this here. Look how perfect that glue line is. There are no bubbles in it. There's no empty spaces. I mean, look how nice that is. It's like if this was the same wood and this had a good, you know, grain match, you would never be able to tell that there were two pieces of wood here. That's how beautiful that glue comes out. When you make a mess, get all goopy, and make sure there's no air pockets or extra, you know, nothing got sucked in. You did the sizing of the bow right. It just comes out gorgeous. Looks like one piece of wood. Now, what I'm going to do with this piece of wood is I'm going to do that same exact thing I did again. I'm going to size this part of the bow after it is properly bending, okay? I don't want to have to do any sanding where the riser meets the bow. What happens is, like on my Killer Bee bow, the yellow heart with black fiberglass backing, I tried to sand the riser and I accidentally sanded too much of the bow, which means there was a weak spot on the bow that I had to fix. And believe me, that's no fun at all. So we're going to do that exact same process where I put these two pieces of wood together and I'm going to glue it down here. Now I'm not going to do it yet. I want this piece of wood bending properly first, but that's where that's going to go. And what I can work on now, let me get a pen for you guys. What I can work on now, as you can see in the picture here, where the handle is supposed to be and how long this piece of wood is, the riser block. Now what I want to do is I'm trying to do this in the camera here, I'm going to want to cut this in such a way that the fade part, which is going to be 1.5 inches, the fade is going to cut from the top in a diagonal, so this block fades and symmetrically into the bow. Okay, so that'll be part 2 of this delayed video when I measure that out, and I'm just going to cut it and sand it and make it flush. I'm not going to glue it up yet because, like I said, I keep saying it, but I want to make sure that I don't have a situation where I have to sand the riser anymore other than shape it. But I don't want to. I want to get that nice angle. Now, what do I mean by the nice angle? Well, here's a piece I'm going to use for the tip overlays. Okay, here's the piece I'm going to use for the tip overlays. It's another piece of Bocati, and I sanded it. I measured it down the middle and sanded. Whoops. Well, there you go. And I sanded it down the middle, and then I just made a nice pointed end on each end of the block. I will be cutting it with the saw down the middle here. What we're going to do with this is, you can do this one of two ways. The easy way to do this is you find the back of the bow and you just glue it down like that. That's the easy way to do it, and then you have a tip overlay. The harder way to do it is to actually sand from, you got to sand the back of the bow down, which is dangerous, guys, but then you end up refilling that space in with your tip overlay like this. Now that's what we're going to be doing, okay? It's going to be a little dangerous. So if you're nervous about doing that because you're taking the back of the bow off, that's what bends. If you're at all nervous about that, I recommend either skipping the tip overlay, you don't really need it, it's just a little decorative thing, or glue it down like this, where you have the, see how it's nice and flush already with the bow? You aren't going to have to really do anything with that. Just glue it down, sand the glue off, and you're done. That's going to be a very strong, and they'll cut it off right here. And that's going to be a real strong tip overlay, but it's going to be kind of, 3D, very thick piece of wood. It'll pretty much good for fast flight strings or anything else. But what I'm going to do is something a little purty. I'm going to sand this down and make it flush this way, which is going to be a little bit more difficult. But we'll jump off that bridge when we get there. So for now, I'm just going to get these pieces ready. I'm going to sand everything down and get it ready for step 2. Since we've been delayed, I might as well work on the riser blocks and get the bow bending a little more. I'll be doing another video on how I'm sanding the riser block down, and I'll check back in with you guys later. This is Mike from Boyer Bows. Sorry about the rain delay, but we'll get going here again real soon. Thanks for watching, and please again leave any comments or questions you may have so far on the build along, so we can get that extra week and get everyone dialed in. Take care, guys.